Hey, what's up guys? James Diamond here and welcome back to the next episode of my Uplifting Trance course here in Sonic Academy. In the last episode we looked at structuring out the intro, and in this episode we're going to be looking at structuring out the breakdown. Now breakdowns for me in Uplifting Trance are very important, as we need to make sure we get that real kind of atmospheric and emotional sounds that goes with the Uplifting Trance style. So we've pretty much got all of the sounds that we need in terms of melodic wise. We've got the pads and the piano and the melodies, and there's just a couple more extra sounds that we're going to add in just to help with the atmosphere. So let's get into it and let's just have a look and see what exactly we want to do. So first thing, I need to just change around these pads, as the main pads here, that's the chord progression for the main drop, and I need to put in and change over to the introduction kind of chord progression. I need to do the same with the sub pad, so let me just move that out of the way in case we want to use it for later, and let me just paste across there. So we're going to be starting with the piano, and we're going to have the piano playing the first 8 bars, and then we want to carry on for this kind of more complex section, and as the piano is carrying on we want to start adding different notes and different sounds and things like that. We're going to go up to about bar 129, and we're just going to repeat the complex piano for a second time. So let's have a look at working with the piano and the pads and the sub pad and changing around the filters and the cutoffs and the automation controls just to make it sound a little bit smoother. So that's sounding quite nice, although the vocals are in a slightly wrong position. Believe they should be starting at bar 113, which is when the piano becomes more complex. Yep. And I think let's add in the pluck also. We want to kind of bring this nice pluck sound back. So let's just make the MIDI clip into a unique. And rather than having the bottom notes, let's take these out, as I just want to hear that nice kind of classic top end of it. So we just want to kind of use that and start to bring that in. So we'll keep the filter down, and then we'll just start to bring the pluck in there.
Angels in the sky.
So that's sounding quite nice, liking the way that the pluck comes in. I think we're going to go one step further, go onto the mixer channel and just automate the amount of sidechain that's on the pluck, because at the moment the sidechain is on for the pluck, but in the breakdown I want to have it turned off. That sounded really nice, got that very classic kind of sound to it. So we just need to add in a couple of sound effects. So we're going to use the reverse crash and the kick at the main kind of sections. So each kind of 8 bars. And then we're going to add in one extra sound effect. We'll put it in our percussion, and we're just going to call it effects hit, which is this one. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to link it to a mixer channel, and I'm going to use the exact same processing as what we did for the crash. So what I'm going to do is just save mixer track state and copy it over to a new mixer channel, and then just link the effects hit to it, rename, and now this is going to have that really nice long crash cymbal effects on it. And let's insert that at the main sections as well.
We fly high. Angels in the sky. I wanna be alive with you. We fly high. Hold me in your heart. Angels in the sky. I wanna be alive with you. We fly high.
Yeah, that sounds really nice, just having it in the middle, just to kind of add something else in there so it's not just kind of the same thing playing over and over. Liking the way it sounds at the moment, and I think let's actually begin to bring in the main melody. I want to kind of drop the main melody somewhere around here, around the 31 bar mark. So let's add our main melody in here. And I think let's start to actually, yeah, just start to kind of filter up the melody so it's not so much of an impact when it comes in. But of course we need to change the chord progression to fit the intro, or at least all the chord progression that's going on with the pads and everything at the moment. So I'm just copying and pasting the changed MIDI into the patterns there. And let's go ahead and add all of the automation for these leads. So just gonna automate the control, the cutoff and the filter control for each of these leads. Just delete that empty playlist clip. So we've got our 3 controls, and then let's go onto our bus, and we want to add on a high pass filter, and we want to add a fruity balance also for the volume control. So before I do that, I just want to set my minimum and maximum filter controls. So I'm just going to highlight our solo main lead 1, double click on the automation, and then set the maximum and minimum values. That's the first one. I just go into the synth there and bring back the cutoff a little bit more. Just to make it a little bit quieter when the filter is all the way down, as the other two were as well. So we've got our main lead to come in at 113 bars and stop with everything else at 119. And let's just bring the volume all the way down to begin with, and then I'll just play the track and start to bring up the volume to get it. So I don't want it to be too overpowering. I want the filters to come up just a little bit, but maybe not to be open 100%. So let's have a listen.
Angels in the sky. I wanna be alive with you. Fly with me in
So that's sounding quite nice. A couple of things there. I realised that this third lead kind of a bit too it stands out a little bit too much. So maybe let's just remove that from the MIDI, as I really like the way that these filters have that nice kind of atmospheric low end when the cutoffs are down. And let's go another step further, and we need to automate or create an automation clip for the mix amount of the sidechain, the LFO tool. So I'm just going to bring it all the way down to begin with, and now let's have a listen to this.
angels in the sky. I wanna be alive with you. We fly with me in your
Really liking the way that sounds at the moment. Very atmospheric indeed. All of the sounds kind of working together to create a nice kind of blanket of atmosphere. So after we've got this, after all the kind of breakdown parts finish, let's just add some rises into it. And a snare roll also. So here, that's when I want to open up the main lead full. So it's got that really big bang and ginormous sound of all of the main leads playing at once. But we need to add some kind of sound effects into this small break section, as it's a little bit thin at the moment. So, because it would be no good just kind of leaving it blank. So I'll just let you hear how that sounds. Sounds a little bit empty at the moment. So what we're going to do, we're just simply going to take our sound effects. We're going to leave a 1 bar gap and then have our sound effects playing. So our transition effects. And let's just see how that sounds. So that's starting to sound a little bit better. Let's add in the effects kick, and then maybe let's add in a snare roll. So let's create a new MIDI clip for the snare roll. And let's have a nice snare roll with a very quick 16th notes at the end. Or maybe let's just have the 16th notes, but bring up the volume much more on them. Yep, I think that's sounding a lot nicer. One thing I've noticed is that the main lead needs to go back up to full volume, as I had it down a little bit. on the volume automation. And let's add one more sound effect in, which is going to be a nice reverse kind of vocal sweep. So this is from the Black Octopus Sounds, Echoes by Holly Drummond again, and you can find that in vocal swells, and you've just got all of the vocal swells, and I just chose vocal swell note E. So let's just link that to a mixer channel. And then we're going to add the stereo shaper, and we're going to change the delay to 17.1 to send it out to the far left and right. And then we'll just add a bit of EQ, just the low cut, and just a tiny bit of reverb, just to help the tail so it doesn't stop so instantly. Maybe let's bring up on the low cut a bit. And cut again. So that sounded quite nice, but maybe let's just automate the volume, just so it doesn't start so suddenly. So that adds a really nice kind of transition into that main lead. It's almost playing the same note as the main lead. So it's almost like a reverse lead, but we're using the vocal instead. As if you've probably noticed, I've got the low lead playing in there as well. So that's just helping to add a little bit of kind of low in there when we've got the main lead playing. So let's now just move on to the next section. And we basically just want to start to work on our build up. Our drop is going to happen at 163 bars. I've already got that marked out. So in this section here, this next 16 bars, we want to start adding in like the kick rolls, the snare rolls, and all that good stuff that kind of signifies that it's going to be the kind of main build. So 147 is when our kind of kick roll and things are going to start. So let's add in reverse crash. Let's add in some sound effects and the snare roll. And maybe let's start bringing the vocals back as well, halfway through the main lead, which is going to be 141, I believe. And then we can use those as a build up to the drop as well. Okay, cool. So that's starting to sound quite nice. I think maybe let's get the piano back in there. But rather than using all of the piano bottom notes, let's just take away some of them. So we're just hearing the nice top notes. So just creating a new MIDI clip and just taking away those bottom notes. So that's just adding another layer to the sound. I think let's start to bring back the pads. And let's maybe start them down low, and then we want to start to bring them up. So at 147, when the build starts, they're playing in full. And let's just straight away get our kick roll in there, which is really going to help signify that this is the beginning of the build. So let's add in quarter notes. And I'm just going to copy these and paste, copy these along even. So it's 16 bars long, so I've got 8 bars of quarter notes, and then let's do another 8 bars of 16th notes, and let's just bring down the velocity so they gradually start to build. I think this would be a good time to bring in the sub and the bass line. And I've also just realized we need to use the main melody chord progression, which is, yep, I've got that in there. I need to use the main melody pad progression. Then we'll bring that across. So obviously that kick roll, it's kind of signifying that we're starting to build, but it is still a little bit loud. So let's use the high pass filter on the kick just to bring out some of that low end. This is kind of a bit boomy at the moment. And let's also bring down the volume of the sub. This is one thing that I like to do on all of my tracks when it comes to the build. I find a lot that people just put in the sub as loud as it is when it's playing in the intro. This is really going to kind of clash with the kick. You've got the kick doubling up and really kind of, you know, starting to get louder and louder, and then you've got the sub in at full volume as well. Just bringing the sub volume down just a little bit is just going to help things be a little bit balanced. You want to make sure that your build isn't as loud as your main drop, or it can never be louder than your main drop, because you're going to lose all of the power out of the main drop itself. So we want to really kind of work with the filters and the controls here to really kind of help smooth things off and make it not sound as kind of intense. People like to have it sounding really, really intense and make the build-up sound, you know, absolutely massive. That's fine, you can do that, but you just need to be absolutely wary of the volumes and how loud the track is actually getting. Louder doesn't always mean better. You can have something intense, but have it actually a little bit quieter by using volume controls to do so. Okay, so just bringing down the volume of the sub there. As the build is building up, we want to bring down the volumes of all the instruments that aren't absolutely necessary. So the same way as what we did in the intro, we were bringing out all of the instruments, and then we want to make sure that they all kind of drop back in with a big bang. So let me just move the sounds to the right. And let's get in our transition effects at the right place. Okay, that's starting to come together quite nicely. I think what we're going to do is we're going to start to bring down the cutoffs on the synths for the main melody, as it's pretty intense at the moment, but we just want to kind of bring down the volume of the main melodies just a little bit by using the synth cutoffs. And let's do what we did in the intro with the introduction lead and just chop off the very last beat of the main lead. And then we're going to do the same with the cutoff, start to bring the cutoff up, the high pass cut, or the high pass filter, just to cut off some of that low end. So that's just to help to bring the lead out a little bit more so it has more of an impact when it drops in full. And let's get our snare roll in there, starting at bar 155. And I'm just going to copy across the 16th notes. And maybe chop off the last bar. So starting to get there, so adding in our rises, and now let's get in our big long pitch bend. Now for this one, I'm going to start it at 147, so it's a really, really long pitch bend on the synth riser. So let's just copy that over to make it 16 bars long in the MIDI, and let's create new automation clips for both the pitch bend and the volume. I don't want to cut off the last beat of the bar on this one, so let's just keep it as it is. But we want to kind of control the amount of volume that we hear of the synth riser there, and let's just copy over the vocals as well. So that's sounding a little bit better, but let's take the sidechain off the synth riser. So I'm just going to automate the mix amount on the sidechain for the synth riser, as I want it to be a single held note rather than jumping up and down. Sounding quite good. And let's do the opposite. Let's actually start to add in the sidechain for the vocals. And I'm thinking maybe let's put a filter or a low cut on the vocals as well. So let's automate the low cut on the vocal EQ, just to bring out any more of that low end on the vocal, just to kind of make it sound a little bit more airy and spacey as it comes up towards the drop. Yep, so that's starting to sound a little bit better. So almost there. Let's just get our sub bass playing full volume when the track drops. And I think we're almost there with the breakdown and the build. Just notice that we've got our low lead here, and let's just do another volume automation on the low lead. So we've got our we've got our low lead playing, and then straight afterwards we have our sub bass come in. I want to kind of decrease the volume of the low lead towards the end of its section, so that when the sub bass comes in it has a little bit more power. So that's pretty much almost there. I think let's add in our double kick hit just before the drop. And I think actually let's just move all of these up risers so they finish just before the drop as well. I think that helps just taking out everything. So we've just got this one beat here at the end, so we can hear the double kind of kick roll come in a little bit more. And let's go to our pads, because I can hear them in the background still, and just drop them out here. And then we also need to make sure that our sidechain is coming on the pads at the drop. Yeah, really liking the way that that's sounding at the moment. As I mentioned before, it doesn't have to be too intense, you know, by adding lots and lots of things and keeping the volumes all at absolute maximum. Using the automation there, really controlling the way that all the volumes, all the sounds sit with the volume controls and the cutoffs really kind of helps to keep the intensity, but also to control the level and the overall volume of the build, just to make sure that the drop really does have maximum impact. We're going to leave it there for the time being, and as I mentioned last episode, when it comes to the final episode of the series, we're going to be looking at the final fine-tuning, going over each individual section, and just making sure that everything is sounding as tight and as perfect as possible. So in the interest of time, that's really kind of how I would do my build-ups. The build-ups are really kind of how you want to do it, but obviously, like I was saying, the main kind of things to keep in mind are making sure that you're controlling all of the volumes with your automation controls, and maybe this might give you a bit of an insight into exactly how much kind of automation I really do on each individual kind of instrument to ensure that everything kind of keeps a consistent level across and it's not getting too loud or louder than the drop. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode where we're working on the main drop section. Cheers.